Do you have an interview scheduled and are terrified of what you're going to say when the interviewer asks you, what mistake have you made in the past in your previous jobs? Well, don't worry, we don't have to be afraid of that question anymore. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips and some tricks on how you can best answer that question and ace that interview. Hi, my name is Satini, and if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing. Today, we are talking about a question that makes even the most seasoned professionals break a sweat. And that is, tell me about a mistake that you've made in the past in a job interview. So let's paint the scene. You're in a job interview and the interviewer has asked you questions. They've asked you questions that are related to the job. They've asked you compliance questions. You know, you feel like this interview is going really well and you're feeling very confident about the answers that you've given. And suddenly from nowhere, they throw a spanner in the works and they say to you, tell me about a mistake that you've made in the past in your previous job. You start to panic. You don't know how to best answer this question. But don't worry, I am going to give you some tips and some tricks on how you can best phrase your answer. So for the purposes of this video, what we're going to do, we're going to say, for example, you're interviewing for a position as a receptionist, and the interviewer has asked you that, give me an example in your previous job of where you made a mistake and how you solved that mistake. Most of the times, they will probably just ask you, give me an example of when you made a mistake in your previous job, and they will leave it at that. So let's say for this video, you are, applying for a receptionist role, or your previous role was a receptionist. And you could say, for example, okay, in my previous role as a receptionist, I made a mistake of scheduling 2 meetings at the same time. And you can go further on and say, and this taught me the importance of double checking every time I was scheduling meetings and looking at the meetings in the morning beforehand to see if there's anything that is clashing. Now, let's talk about how you are actually going to structure your response, because that is very important. Now, what you need to do is you need to put into use the STAR method. I have spoken briefly about the STAR method in a previous video, and I will link that video at the end of this video. Now, just as a recap, STAR method stands for situation, task, action, and result. Now let's use the STAR method as an example. We're going to use the same example that we used before for the receptionist. So here is how you would phrase it. When I was working as a receptionist in my previous role, one of my tasks was to schedule meetings for one of the executives. Well, I received a call and I had to schedule a meeting for him with that particular client. I scheduled the meeting for him. He later came in and I was in the middle of the task and I was very involved in that task. And he asked me to schedule another meeting with another client. And I made a mistake and I scheduled both meetings at the same time. Now, the interviewer may coax you a little bit and say, so what did you do to rectify that mistake? But some may not even coax you. So you need to make sure that you actually say the result of how you solved that issue. So you could phrase this first and say, when you realized the mistake, you quickly called the client and asked if you could reschedule the meeting. I also apologized for the client and made sure that this doesn't happen again. And you could say that to avoid this happening again, I make sure that whenever I'm scheduling a meeting, I am focused on that task and nothing else, and I don't have any other disturbances, so that I make sure that that mistake doesn't occur again. Now, you also want to show the interviewer that you've grown from that mistake, that you've learned from that mistake and you're aware of that mistake. How you can say this is that After that mistake and after we had resolved that, I never had that mistake occurring again because I kept a really good eye on the diary and I made sure that I used tools and resources. For example, you could mention Calendly that helped me schedule meetings and made sure that nothing clashed. Now that you've answered the question perfectly, there are some things that you need to avoid saying. Avoid giving an example of a mistake that impacted very heavily and badly on the company that you worked for. So avoid saying a mistake maybe that led you to getting fired or an impact that led the company to lose millions. So give a mistake that's not too heavy, that's light enough that you could easily resolve yourself. You don't want to throw yourself in the deep end and open yourself to too many questions and end up looking like you will be someone who will be incompetent in their job. Remember, the goal is to show the interviewer that yes, you've made mistakes in the past and you've grown from those mistakes and you're aware of those mistakes.
Hi guys, Editing Satini here. Thank you for watching this video. I just have a few questions for you. Please let me know what you think of the audio. So, if you noticed when I was filming previously, I had a little mic here. I'm not wearing a mic now. That's just because I want you to see the differences in audio and then you can tell me what you prefer. So, when I use the mic, the sound is clearer and you can hear me better. When I use my camera, sometimes you can't really hear me that well. So please let me know what you think of the audio and which one would you prefer. Please also let me know what you think of my background. I know today it wasn't the best. It wasn't what we'd hoped for. I'll keep tweaking it as time goes by. But let me know if you have any tips for me on how I can better make my background look better. Please don't hesitate to comment below and let me know. Next up, I want to know the kind of content that you would prefer. Are you enjoying this type of content that I put out? I do want my content to be purposeful, so that is why I do a lot of interview questions because it's something that I enjoy doing and that's something that I believe I have a bit of knowledge on. So that's why I put out that content because it would be helpful to someone else. I am doing some vlogs here and there. We're trying out, and we're hoping to improve. So if you want to be a little bit nosy and take a little bit of a peek and see what I'm up to, during the week, then please take a look at my vlogs. I will usually upload them on a Sunday. Currently, it's not every Sunday, but I'm hoping that it will be every Sunday very soon. So let me know if you are enjoying those vlogs. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please share it with your bestie and hopefully you will consider subscribing.
If you have a friend or a family member who's attending an interview very soon, why not share this video with them if you found it helpful? Thank you so much for stopping by and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.